Hello, everyone. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. Thank you very much for joining us. So, first thing we're going to start off with, right out of the gate. Last week, I went to a surprise birthday function for a fellow area runner. While I was there, and happy birthday, Karen, by the way, again. While I was there, I was talking to some other people, and it really reminded me of an episode we did maybe a couple months ago. You can go find it. It's called Find Your Tribe. All right, we got to talking, and I wanted to give a big shout out to a group here in town. They go by SRTT, or the Kansas City chapter of She Runs This Town. And I didn't know that so many of my fellow running friends were in this group, but they sound like an amazing running group. So if you are a new runner and you are a woman, a female, whatever, and you want to get involved in a running group, I understand there are always hesitations. And we talked about it. We talked about my personal hesitations on the previous episode. I understand where the nerves come in, but I am here to tell you that She Runs This Town, SRTT, is a group of amazing lady runners who I know them well enough to know you are not going to get left behind. You are not going to just be eating everyone else's dust. They have people that will stay with you every step of the way. So I don't want you to be nervous if there's something you want to do in the running world, like in a group run setting. I am going to recommend my great and good friends over at SRTT. She Runs This Town, Kansas City. You can find them on Facebook. Definitely go give them a look and go run with them. I guarantee that you will be glad that you did. So big shout out to all of them. And I know I will miss some people, but I know there's Karen and Josie and Jamie and Allison and Amy. And there's a lot of the people I know in the running world who are part of that group. And they are all awesome. They are amazing runners and better people. So that is my shout out. That's my big plug for this week is go find the Kansas City chapter of She Runs This Town and get yourself in a group run with them because you will not regret it because they're awesome. So there we go. There's the big plug for this week. As for me, this past weekend, today is October 9th. It is Columbus Day, Indigenous People Day, whatever day you want to call it. 'Tis a federal holiday here in the United States of America. And so beautiful day outside. Nice to be off of work for me as I work for a bank. So we get all the federal holidays. But I hope that your day off, if you get it, is going great. And if you had to work today, sorry, it's still a beautiful day outside. Like we're here in almost mid-October and the weather is just beautiful right now. And that's good news because we are all deadheading towards the Garmin Kansas City Marathon. Look out for next week. If nothing happens with the schedule, Dave, race director for the Garmin Kansas City Marathon, is going to join us in 1 week. And we will give all the last minute news, notes, and details of the Garmin Kansas City Marathon because it is now less than 2 weeks away. Oh, goodness. So no races for me this past weekend. Took a weekend off. It was great. I actually have next weekend off as well, but I know there's a lot of people who are traveling up to Des Moines for the Des Moines full marathon, half marathon, but the big IMT Des Moines marathon weekend is next weekend. A lot of people going up there. A couple first-time marathon runners are going up to do that race. To all of you, I say good luck, although you don't need it. You are going to absolutely crush that race, crush the course, crush a full marathon, and then you're going to be hooked. And you're going to be like, oh, I wish I'd been doing full marathons longer. Now I'm going to go do all of them. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. So just be ready. So good luck to everyone going up to Des Moines for that. Then you're going to come back next weekend, and we're all going to be at Garmin, Kansas City. And then Cody and I are down to Midland, Texas for Energy City. And then I'm up to Nebraska for Good Life Halvesy. And then at some point in time, I will probably just keel over. Blech. Done. So a lot of running coming up. I hope you guys are enjoying it. And thankfully, like I said, this weather, friggin' beautiful. But the big story of today, and it's great. Sometimes I have to go and I have to search out topics and I have to find what we're going to talk about. Not this time. The topic found me. And as you can tell, if you are watching the YouTube channel, as I'm wearing a Chicago Cubs hat in my Bank of America Chicago Marathon finisher's jacket from 2018, this might have been the weekend of the Chicago Marathon. And boy, was it a noteworthy race to be sure. So we're going to talk a little bit about this year's Chicago Marathon because records are made to be broken. And I think they broke all of them. I swear every record was broken at this year's Bank of America Chicago Marathon. So let's talk about it. The first one we have, and you're going to see me look to the right here because I want to get it correct. The first record that fell, Marcel Hug shatters his own Bank of America Chicago Marathon course record with an unofficial time, and this is in the wheelchair division, of 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 37 seconds. Last year, he finished at 1:25:20. So again, wheelchair race, which I know not something we talk about often. I have no personal experience with it. So that's why it's not covered. But to go 26.2 miles in 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 37 seconds with nothing but your arms, that's ridiculous. Like, that's new kind of strength that I know I personally do not have or could not possess. I couldn't even do a 5K right now if I had to do any kind of wheelchair racing. And if there's another term that they use for it, I apologize if I am getting it wrong. I'm not trying to be insensitive. But again, just using your arms for that, that is absolutely crazy. So that was the first course record that fell. A new wheelchair men's division record at 1:22:37. So that is pretty darn impressive. And then let's go to the next one. Okay, so a course record in her. Oh, this was the women's winner. Okay, so a course record for women's marathon. In her U.S. marathon debut, Sifan Hassan takes the Bank of America Chicago Marathon course record, and this was an unofficial time. It has since been made official, of 2 hours, 13 minutes, and 44 seconds. So the women's winner, and everyone from She Runs This Town should be applauding right now, 2 hours, 13 minutes, and 44 seconds for a new women's marathon record. That is just insane. And is just a new kind of speed that I personally cannot even fathom. And so you can find all the videos for all these people crossing the finish line because, of course, it is amazing. And then the big one, and I'm sure you guys have all seen this by now. This is nuts. Okay, so we know that a couple weeks ago in Berlin, Kipchoge had a great race, won Berlin. That is where the previous marathon record was held, was in Berlin, Germany at the BMW Berlin Marathon. It's fallen, and it was not Kipchoge who did it. I know that is shocking. So this is a new marathon record, a new course record, and a new world record. Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, and I saw this blowing up all over Facebook yesterday. So the new man in town, as they call him, Kelvin Kiptum. Okay, Kelvin Kiptum just broke Kipchoge's world record with an unofficial time, and it has since been made official. And if you're not sitting down, you might want to sit down for this. 2 hours, 35 seconds. Oh, are you kidding me? 2 hours, no minutes, 35 seconds. So that is a new record. And I saw this and I wanted to share it. Let me find it here on my phone. Where is that graphic? Okay, here we go. So that comes out to a 4-minute, 36-second per mile pace. So 4:36 is what he ran the entire time for a new world record of 2 hours and 35 seconds. That's crazy. So here's his splits. We have his splits right here. And again, Kelvin Kiptum. And again, this he's a Nike sponsored athlete. And I don't know where he came from. To be real honest, I had not heard his name before, but whoo, this guy can fly. All right, so here's the split time. So at his 5K, so the first 5K into the race, 3.1 miles. He was at a time of 14 minutes and 26 seconds. So again, that's a 5K. Like, that's an amazingly fast 5K. That would win any race here in town if you were just running a 5K and you did it in 14 minutes and 26 seconds. So that was at a pace of 4 minutes and 39 seconds. So his 10K, the 6.20 miles, he was at 28 minutes and 42 seconds, actually bringing his pace down to 4:36 per mile. At 15 kilometers, he was at 43:09. So that's at a 4 minute and 40 second pace. So he'd gone up a little. And then at 20 kilometers, he was at 57:39 and still maintaining that 4:40. And again, this is strategic. This is like surgical precision right here. All right. That's what this guy has. All right. His half marathon time. So half marathon, 1 hour, 48 seconds. It's crazy. 1 hour, 48 seconds is where he was at halfway through the race. He brought his pace back down to 4 minutes and 38 seconds. All right, at 25 kilometers, he was at 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 4 seconds. That's at a pace of 4:39. So he'd only gone up a second. And then at 30 kilometers, he was 1 hour, 26 minutes, 31 seconds, right at 4:39. Again, right at pace. I think 4:40 pace is about what he was hoping for the entirety of the race. Okay, so that in itself is just insane that he's way under it, just way under it. Okay, let's see, that was 35 kilometers. He was at 1 hour, 40 minutes, 22 seconds. And again, I've done Chicago. Like, there's no real hills where you're going to make up time. So at 35 kilometers, 140, 22, he had gone down to 4 minutes and 28 seconds per mile. So he went from 4:39 to 4:28. That's pretty fast. And then at 40 kilometers, 1 hour, 54 minutes, 23 seconds. That's at 4:31. And then it finished 2 hours, 35 seconds for 4:33. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. That's just crazy time right there. And just so impressive. Another one I wanted to mention, and again, just while we all take in this guy. So the record-setting streak kept going. So Des Linden, we all know Desi. She was the one that won that improbable Boston Marathon years ago where the wind was awful, rain, cold, and a lot of the elites had dropped out, and Des took the whole thing. She broke an 8-year mark for the Masters record with an unofficial time of 2 hours, 27 minutes, and 35 seconds. So again, that's Des Linden, who, I mean, she's no slouch herself, that's for darn sure. But she went out there and absolutely wrecked the course with a new course record. So there were just course records falling all over the place. And so I don't even know what to say about that. Like the time that they put in is just insane. You know, I know that by way of like race registrations and stuff, they say running is down in air quotes. But man, just these elite level athletes are just so head and shoulders above everyone and everything else. Like, this is just a new era of running that we're all just kind of witnessing. Now, I know we had a lot of our friends up in Chicago, a lot of people I personally know, and from our own running community, both the Kansas City running community, and then I had friends from my Boston Athletic Association charity team that I ran Boston with. There were people from there that were up at the race. Everyone finished. Everyone looks like they had a great time. I saw a lot of people saying they PR'd. So personal best coming out of that race. Looked like it was a perfect day for running. And I am so proud of absolutely everyone involved in that race, because it sounds like you guys crushed it and you did a great job. But what we're going to do now is we are going to talk about next year. Because what? We're runners, right? You finish a race and be like, I hate this. This is terrible. I'm never doing it again. Ooh, new race next year. Huh? And look, after the excitement of this year, you know that next year is going to be huge. Now, this was the 45th Chicago Marathon. I find that surprising because I really thought this race would have been older and been around a lot longer. But this was 45. So anytime you get to those 5-year markers, you get big turnout, big crowd, big everything. So next year is going to be 46, you would think, if my math is correct. So I'm hoping maybe not as many people, but I am absolutely going to throw my name in the lottery for next year. And here's the great news, everyone. We don't have to wait. We do not have to wait long to start gearing up for Chicago 2024, the 46th running. Here's the dates that are important to all of us. And get ready, because trust me, you're not going to have to refer back to this. It's coming. It's almost here. Sunday, so in 6 days from when this episode is released. Wait a minute. Is that true? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Never mind. Just kidding. Hold the phone. Sorry, I was out of line here. All right, here's what we got. Tuesday, here we go. Tuesday, October 17th. So in a week from when you hear this. Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. Guaranteed and non-guaranteed entry applications open. So October 17th, set your reminder. You can put your name into next year's Chicago Marathon. So Thursday, November 16th, all right, you get a whole month. That is when the guaranteed and non-guaranteed entry application window closes. You've got a whole month. So I don't want to hear any of this. Oops, I forgot to do it. You get a whole month to do it. So October 17th through November 16th, everyone's throwing their name in. And after the excitement of this year, I think there's going to be a lot of people throwing their names in for next year. I can talk sometimes. So, and then we're all going to find out, all of us together are going to find out when or if we made it on Thursday, December 7th, 2023. Okay. So that's it. We will know with like 11 months. No, sorry, 10 months. Math is fun. We will have 10 months advance notice on if we make Chicago. And the race is going to be, that's where I was wrong, Sunday, October 13th, 2024. So Sunday, October 13th, 2024. Go ahead, look at your calendars now, mark it off, because we are all going to throw our names in that lottery. And then hopefully, big old group of us is going to be going up to Chicago for Chicago Marathon 46 in 2024. Again, I am absolutely throwing my name in there. I have every intention of going and it being at that race. Hopefully, you guys as well. Chicago is a super fun town. It is a world marathon major, and I know I've mentioned this before. A little bit of regurgitation here. I get it. I'm sorry. This was my first star. So if you don't have a world marathon major star, let's go to Chicago. Let's get you at least a star. Get your first one, get it out of the way. So again, that's Chicago in October, 1 star. From Kansas City, easy drive, 8-hour drive, and it is not that difficult. You're just going up through Kansas. I think you pass through a little piece of Missouri if you absolutely have to, up through Iowa or Nebraska, whichever way you go, and probably Iowa, and then up into Illinois, and boom, you're there. It is really an easy drive, and we could caravan that thing if we so desired. The food is excellent. We've talked about the food before. Best pizza on God's green earth is Giordano's. I don't care. Fight me. Portillo's also amazing. Illuminati's really good. And then there's other stuff as well. You can go up to the Sears Tower or whatever they call it these days. It's not the Sears Tower anymore, but real tall building. And I will sit there and watch from afar as you do the attraction where you lean yourself on the glass and then it lowers the glass and you're like dangling out over the streets of Chicago. That's all you guys. I'll watch with my back against the wall because that doesn't sound like any fun to me at all. But Chicago's a super fun town. Unfortunately, not going to be there during baseball season, but we could all still go to Wrigleyville anyway and go to one of the restaurants and bars and see what we can do there. But I definitely think everyone should throw their name in again, October 17th through November 16th to try and get into the 46th Chicago Marathon. So again, that is coming up next year. Since we're on the subject of Chicago Marathon, we'll just make this the episode. Let's talk about a little bit of the history of Chicago, because there are things here that I didn't know. Did you know this year, and they gave the person's name, this year they had the 1 millionth finisher of the Chicago Marathon. She was a woman who was actually local to the area, who finished around 4 hours, 30 something odd minutes, I believe. But they had it pegged that she was the 1 millionth person to cross the finish line in Chicago in these 45 years of running the race. There were over 40,000 athletes who went up for this race. Again, I thought that was definitely interesting. If you didn't know, the race starts in Grants Park. So Grant Park, real big park. I think that's on the north part of downtown Chicago. It is easily the most difficult start that I've ever had to a race. Once you get into Grant Park and once you get into the starting corrals, you're smushed. You're in there, man. Like, I don't even think they'd let you leave the corral to go to the Porta-John. I think once you get in the corral, you're there, which is why after you start the race, you run down the hill, you go under this bridge, and you see 11 billion people relieving themselves over off the side of the road before you even really get started with the race. Super gross, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And at least when I was there in 2018, they did not make it easy to use the restroom before the start of the race. But you're starting in Grant Park, and again, 40,000 people. I bet the number is actually more than that. So since the marathon's founding in 1977, the race has witnessed world-class athletes break numerous records. This year is no exception. Race day temperatures are ranging from, they've had high upper 80s. God, can you believe that? Could you imagine running a high 80s Chicago Marathon? That's terrible. And as low as in the 20s. Thousands of sports drinks and energy gels being consumed, and too many highlights to count. So let's go down to some of the history. So how did the Chicago Marathon come to be? In 1977, Michael Balandic, then the mayor of Chicago and an enthusiastic runner, threw his support behind putting on a race along the downtown streets of the Windy City. The Chicago Marathon was dreamed up by 5 founders, including original race director Wendy Miller. In November of 1976, and officially kicked off September 25th, 1977. Fees for the debut events were just this is gonna hurt. Fees for the debut event were just $5. If you do make it through the lottery, I think this year registration was around $235, 240, 230, 235, 240, somewhere in there. So the original event was $5. And more than 4,200 runners showed up to compete, including 8-year-old Wesley Paul, who finished in 3 hours and 15 minutes and 20 seconds. That little punk, making the Mayor Daily Marathon, named after former Chicago Mayor Richard Daley, the largest 26.2-mile race in the world at that time. The 1977 men's winner was Indiana native Dan Clowder, who ran 2:17:52, while Texan Dorothy Doolittle won for the women's race in 2 hours, 50 minutes, 47 seconds. The enormous success of that debut marathon not only established the annual race for years to come, but it also set other running initiatives into motion. Under Belandi's hand, what was once an old equestrian trail along Lake Michigan was paved into a 5-mile running path, which eventually became the 18-mile lakefront route that Chicago runners know and love today. So I did a different race up in Chicago. It was the Soldier Field 10-miler. So it starts right on the outside of Soldier Field where the Chicago Bears play, and it ended inside. And so that 10-mile route is basically 5 miles out and back on Lakeshore. And so very beautiful. You're along the lake the whole time. Great view of downtown Chicago. Again, if a 26.2-mile event is not your thing, but you still want to see the pretty parts of Chicago, the Soldier Field 10-miler was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, the year that we went and did it, I really didn't get to enjoy Soldier Field because when we finished on the 50-yard line, they were setting up that night for a Beyonce concert. And so it was a concert venue. It wasn't a football field. So that kind of stunk. But it's a spring race as well. So if you are interested in something like that, I might recommend to you the Soldier Field 10-miler. Let's see. Race size and weather. While Chicago's flat course certainly contributed to fast performances in the past, the infectious atmosphere, competitive field, and weather on race day has helped too. In 2007, the race began capping its field at 45,000 participants, making it more than 10 times larger than it was 30 years prior. In 2019, the last Chicago Marathon before COVID-19 pandemic, 45,956 runners crossed the finish line in Grant Park. After cancellation in 2020 and a smaller field in 2021, race then started getting back to 40,000 and above. Again, I was scheduled to run it in 2020. I got in through the lottery, and then the race was canceled. Yay. So the average highs and lows in early October for Chicago are usually in the low 60s to mid 40s. But in 2007, marathoners suffered record high temps of 89 degrees and 73% humidity on race day. Whoa, that's nasty. In 1988, the coldest race ever recorded, they endured temps as low as 21 degrees. In 1993, participants ran through snow. In 2019, runners had perfect marathon weather with lows in the high 30s and highs in the low 50s on Sunday, October 9th. Oh, okay, so it was expected a low of 49 this year and a high of 61, dang near close to perfect. From what I saw, I think maybe it came in a couple degrees cooler than that, but no runner's going to complain about that. That's actually about perfect. So here's a quick rundown of the Chicago Marathon course. Because much of the route is as flat as a pancake, and that is no lie. And race day mornings are usually brisk. It can be hard to hold back in the early miles of Chicago, but no matter how good you feel from the gun, 26.2 miles is still a long way to go. So proper pacing is key for staying strong through the finish. The looped course starts and finishes in Grant Park along Lake Michigan. After 2 miles of running through downtown Chicago, the tall buildings could cause problems with your GPS signal on your watch. True. Runners go northwest for about 6 miles and then turn back south, running through, Boyston, Lincoln Park, and Old Town until they hit the halfway point. There, runners change directions and head east for miles 14 through 21. Runners pass through the West Loop, University Village, Little Italy, and Pilsen. After mile 21, runners turned south for a spin through Chinatown before heading back north toward the finish line to Grant Park. And again, I think I told the story before, but Chinatown, that really speaks to me. I was doing well in Chicago, well-ish, when I came across a struggling runner in Chinatown who had her phone in her hand and had the Uber app open. She was just ready to be done, ready to get the heck off that course, she wanted to quit. I stayed with her. I was not going to let her quit. I talked to her for a while. I just kept trying to motivate her, kept trying to get her going. It was a struggle. Hindsight being what it was. I mean, it certainly cost my time dearly. Not that that was a big thing. I was in no danger of being up there with the elites. But I was a little bummed because while I wanted to help and while we did get her to finish, what's the best way? It didn't feel very great. Like she wasn't amazingly grateful or anything. It just and didn't try and up her game because someone was helping her. If someone's trying to help me along the course, I'm going to bust my rump to kind of reward their help and their generosity. That was not the case. And wherever she is in life, I hope she's doing well, but I bet she doesn't have another marathon to her record. Again, still glad I did it though. It was the right thing to do. I didn't want someone to quit when they were so close. So close, like mile 21 in Chinatown. You're almost there, man. Just 5 more miles. No big deal. But anyway, Amanda from Atlanta. I hope she's doing well. Let's see. After mile 21, turn south for a spin through Chinatown before heading back north toward the finish line at Grant Park. Okay. So yeah, we've got that. Past winners and prize money. This might be kind of fun. Since the event's founding, Chicago has grown tremendously in size and talent. The combination of a deep field, fast course, and sizable prize purse has attracted the best of the best over the years. In 1982, race organizers awarded winners with prize money for the first time. That year, Americans Greg Meyer, 2 hours, 10 minutes, 59 seconds, and Nancy Kuntz, 2 hours, 33 minutes, 23 seconds, each took home $12,000. So that was the inaugural purse. In the women's race for 2022, the winner went out in a blazing pace, crossing 10 miles in under 50 minutes. She would fade over the final half to barely miss the world record, running 2:14.18. Behind her, Emily Sisson broke the American record at 2:18.29. Okay. Let's see. I was trying to get to more of the money part, but no, now they're just talking about previous winners. Interesting, though, that it was $12,000 for the first race. Be very, very curious to see what Kiptum walked home with yesterday for a new record. Just crazy. To that point, though, our guy Kipchoge, he won this race in 2014. When he ran this race, he won it in 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 11 seconds. And again, that was 2014. Let's see, the closest to that, let's see, 204. There's 205, 206. Last year's winner, Benson Kipruto of Kenya, he was 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 24 seconds. So still not quite Kipchoge. So Kipchoge had it until they say, oh, no, I'm sorry. There's Dennis Kimetto of Kenya, 2 hours, 3 minutes, 45 seconds in 2013. And so I think that was previous record. Not anymore. Now it's toast. Now it's done. So again, to Kiptum, huge congratulations. I look forward to seeing him run more. He, just like Kipchoge and all these runners from Kenya, which, I mean, amazing athletes, and I am in awe of them every time. They make it look so effortless. When he crossed the finish line, he looked like he could have kept going. It looked like he was still gaining speed. I mean, just the way he sprinted down that line. Jeez, man. I don't know where you come up with the energy to do any of that. Any of it. I don't get it. Does not make sense. So anyway, I thought that was fun. That's your kind of Chicago information. Like I said, sometimes topics I have to search for, and sometimes I find us. Today seemed like the perfect day to talk Chicago Marathon because 2023 is in the books, record-setting year that it was, and it got me all jazzed up. Now, look, I had already planned on putting my name in the lottery for 2024. Not going to lie. I'm not going to say this was just a spur-of-the-moment decision. No, I've already been wanting to do that. But now is for sure. Like, for sure, I want to go to Chicago, and I want you guys to all go too. So if you want it, let's go get it. Now, along the lines of marathons that we're going to do, there is a group of us here, and it's coming together nicely, that are all planning on going to Little Rock, Arkansas for the Little Rock Marathon in March of 2024. Okay, so that is March 3rd is the date, and you can find the event on the Back of the Pack podcast Facebook page. Please keep the conversation going. Mark, if you're going to go, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But it looks like there's going to be a nice group of people who are going down to Little Rock. The reason we like Little Rock, they have a 2-hour head start for anyone who feels they can't do the marathon in under 6 hours. So if you think it's going to take you 7, cool, you get a 2-hour head start. So if you ever wanted to knock out a marathon and you don't think that 6 hours is reasonable for you, now you've got a 2-hour head start. Please come join us in Little Rock, Arkansas for the Little Rock Marathon. And again, I was there the year it was canceled because of the ice storm. So I never actually got to finish that race. I got to enjoy the first 14 miles of it, but I didn't get to finish the race. I plan to this time. And again, it is the largest finisher medal in North America. That is what you'll walk away with when you complete the Little Rock Marathon. I am already registered for it. Many of the people in the Kansas City running community are registered for it. We will be coordinating. I'm sure we'll be seeing each other in Little Rock. Some people riding together, splitting hotels, whatever the case might be. But we're going to make it a big year in 2024, it sounds like. Little Rock Marathon, for me, Berlin. Dag nabbit, I'm going to Berlin. This is freaking happening because it's driving me nuts. I've missed it twice. They let me defer. I just got the email today to get signed up. I am going to Berlin next year, and I'm getting my 4th star. Dag nabbit. And then we'll turn right around and go to Chicago. Sounds like fun, right? So, hey, big running year coming up in 2024. How can you not be excited? How can you not be? Like, I'm super stoked, and we're sitting here in early October. But we've definitely got enough to keep us busy between now and then. So stay on the podcast, stay on all of our social media stuff. We'll update, we'll talk, we'll discuss, we'll have fun. And yeah, again, we've said it before, I said it a few times. There is no more off season for running. Like, there's cold seasons, but it's not off season, baby, because now with an early March marathon, you are doing the bulk of your training in December, January, and early February. It's cold, but no excuses. We're going to get it done, and everyone is going to, rock Little Rock. Cool? I dig it. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I am your host, Kyle Walker. My pleasure as always. Thank you all very much for joining us. We'll be back next week. Again, if nothing changes, Dave Borchert from the Kansas City Sports Commission will be on the podcast to talk everything last minute Garmin Kansas City Marathon. So everyone have a great week of training. Enjoy this amazingly beautiful fall weather. We'll see you next week.